So, so boredom. What is boredom? Is it real? Does it exist? Are we even real? That's better. Look, now I can lean into the microphone, but still look at the camera. Boredom. What is it? Who has it? Is it real? These are some of the questions that I'm going to be asking in this episode of Zirkzank Say, so stay tuned for me to just ramble on until I get some answers to that. The whole idea of the human capacity to even be bored in the first place kind of stems from some biological evolutionary need to be doing something, because any human who feels bored doing nothing is going to be motivated to do something, therefore increasing their chances of survival or happening across something interesting. But in the modern day and age, where you can actually just do nothing and you can survive by doing nothing, like sitting around doing nothing is a viable survival strategy. You can just sit and do nothing, or lay down and do nothing all day, and you'll probably survive. So the drive to do something is there, but the choices of things to do are just so unnecessary to do. There's just, like, you got work to do, but you don't really have to do it. You know, you could clean your room or whatever, but you don't really feel like cleaning your room. You've got loads of games to play. Well, I'm not really that interested in playing the games. So there's like an infinite amount of things you can do, even within your own mind. There's that Louis C.K. thing where he tells to his kids, like, when they say they're bored, it's like, you don't get to say that you're bored. You're surrounded by the fact that, for the very fact that you're alive, and the minuscule chance that was, that was even a thing that happened, and the number of possibilities of things that there are to imagine, even within your own mind, and the vastness of the visible universe, and so on. It's like, how can you really get to say that you're bored when there is just all of this stuff? There is never a moment where you ever could say that you are bored. Listen to me. You should never be bored. But that wasn't Louis C.K., that was just some other shit. But then there's also the idea that you can be bored. You can chill out doing nothing and not be bored. I mean, that's one option, but it doesn't get rid of that sort of nagging feeling of, like, I want to be doing something, but I want to be doing something that I enjoy doing, as opposed to, like, for example, sticking my hand in fire. I mean, that's something, but it's not something I want to do. The same with doing university work. That's kind of like sticking my hand in fire, except it's more like sticking my eyes and face into fire, whilst the rest of my body's on fire, and I'm also being kicked in the balls. So that's kind of why I'm not doing that, and that's kind of why I'm making this, because I'll be honest with you guys, I'm pretty bored. And I don't get bored very often. Well, I do actually, that's a lie. The thing is, I came to a decision where I decided I don't want to complain about things anymore, because if you complain about things, it makes you seem like a negative person. Now, this is me giving advice, this isn't me projecting or complaining, this is me giving advice based on some conclusions I come up to. In all walks of life, stop yourself before you say anything. You're not censoring yourself, but stop yourself from saying things, and then ask yourself if, in that situation, does that thing that you're about to say, does it make anybody's life better in any way? If it doesn't, then don't say it. Because that's really all there is to communication, speech, being a better person, and all of that. If you're gonna say something that doesn't make somebody's life better, don't say it, and don't do it. I think that's like a very simple maxim to follow. I mean, axiom. You don't really need to think too hard about it. Well, actually, you kind of do, because sometimes you can be wrong. What you think might improve someone's life might not, or something that you think sounds like a joke to somebody could actually just upset them. But like overall, just stop before you say something. Have a little think and say, is this going to improve someone's life? The answer's no. It's just not worth saying. So that's why I'm making this video, where I have something to say, but I'm making it worthwhile and trying to make it improve someone's life in some capacity. If you're entertained by the soothing sound of Zirkzank's voice, well then you've come to the right place, because there's plenty of that to go around here. I also wrote up a little thing that I'm trying to find, where I was discussing with myself in a thing, because that's what I do. That's what I fucking do. You can see that's what I do, that I talk to myself. I boiled it down to, like, before you do anything, think, and this is something that I learned when I was like 6 years old, I think, or younger or older, I don't know, but I could never really appreciate the sentiment of it until I actually started doing like things in life. But the thing is, you probably heard this one before, but ask yourself, if you ever don't know what to do in a situation, ask yourself, what would Jesus do? And now, it sounds stupid, what would Jesus do? Because you start to think, well, Jesus is either a fictional character, it's part of some religious bullshit that you don't believe in, or you can't know what Jesus would do. There's like a lot of counter arguments to it, but the idea really is just that Jesus is essentially the perfect man or woman, the ideal person that you really want to be. You can't, but you want to try to be. So that isn't to say, though, that if you're trying to be Jesus, that you're trying to be, some kind of holy divine person. It's more just that you're trying to do the right thing as much as you possibly can and do less of the things that aren't right. Which is difficult, of course, because not everyone can always be omnipotent with infinite knowledge and infinite wisdom all the time. But yeah, the whole idea of having an example of someone to think about, once you start to look at how stories are written, you start to think and get a really good vibe and sense of what to do and how to be and how these characters would react. So for other examples of characters that are similar, like I wrote down Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, Neo from The Matrix, Harry Potter from what's it called? Harry Potter, I think the film is, the book series. Yeah, Harry from Harry Potter. Luke Skywalker, maybe. That's something that that I'm not entirely sure about, but I know that Anakin Skywalker definitely is supposed to be some kind of fucking Jesus, where he's born to a virgin woman, That's literally Jesus. But fuck all the Christianity shit. You don't need that, really. You really don't need that to try and extract value from stories that are told. But it is very difficult to appreciate them until you actually have life experience where you think, yeah, I'm getting the hang of life, and then you just come across things that really confuse you, surprise you, or just bother you in a certain way that you never expected to have to deal with, or emotions that you're not used to dealing with, situations that don't occur very often. You can't prepare, predict, or anticipate what the fuck is, what's going to happen. So you ask yourself, what would Jesus do? But more like, what would Aragorn do? Because I think Aragorn is definitely the coolest one of, like, listen, that's why I fucking like Dark Souls. Dark Souls is where you get to be Aragorn in a fucking world full of monsters, and you're with a sword, all your other equipment and stuff, and you're traveling through limited resources. I mean, you get to infinitely respawn in Dark Souls, and Aragorn doesn't really, because in his fictional universe, he's immortal, he can die, but nonetheless, that's going off topic. I just like Dark Souls, I gotta say it. Aragorn is my spirit animal. That's why I'm growing out, like, I'm growing facial hair in my hair to be more like Aragorn. The idea is really that he never says things like, "Man, this ring shit is a total waste of time," or, "Oh, why do I have to fucking help the hobbits?" Or, "Why do I have to protect the hobbits?" Or, "Oh, I hate being the king of all three folk." It's bullshit. Like, "Oh, why do I have to do it?" He's not complaining about anything. He never lies. That's a big one. Never lying. Always telling the truth is difficult because you can't always know what the factual truth is. You can only ever know what your experiential truth is. But always try to know the truth. Always try to tell the truth. Don't lie. Put others first. I guess that's kind of like, it's a very altruistic thing, but if every other person puts every other person first, it stops people being selfish, because if you were being selfish, you'd end up not achieving as much as if you were helping other people. If people help each other, a lot more gets achieved than when people stick to themselves and try to manipulate outwards, because that just doesn't even work. It's like human interaction just doesn't even work like that. But yeah, even like Aragorn and Neo and stuff, these are not like actual Jesuses, because these characters have difficulties and challenges. They need to overcome them. They have emotional struggles, and they have struggles in the world around them, and they even have interpersonal relationship issues, like Aragorn and Neo in particular. They have their love interests that they can't be with, and all of this kind of thing. Or like, it's a very they're very human. They're more human than fucking Jesus is. So you look to these characters and think, what would Aragorn do? If Aragorn was here, what would he do? You'd like to think he'd pull out his sword and be the king, Or what would Neo do? He would hack into the Matrix. I don't know. Essentially, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to fill time because I'm very bored. But yeah, this is it. The characters that are portrayed in films, the reason why they're so powerful and they're so consistently the same, almost every character is the same, and almost every story is the same. The monomyth, almost all stories are pretty much the same, as like a character doing something in their everyday life, gets taken out of it, and then does something interesting, there's conflict, and then they go back to their everyday life, or their everyday life becomes a different everyday life because something drastic has changed. But yeah, this is kind of like, it's just a generic kind of thing that we all know it inside of us, and the lessons that they teach us aren't really lessons that we're learning for the first time. It's more like, it's what's right and wrong, but every now and again you just forget, or you just really don't know what to do until you detach from the situation and you think, what would Aragorn do? And also the other thing that I was saying before, which was, ask yourself, is this going to improve someone's life doing this? Is this going to... is saying something going to be a good thing, or is it worth saying what I want to say? Do I even want to say it that much? Like, 10 seconds pass, and usually you don't want to say or do anything that you wanted to do before the 10 seconds. If you're acting on impulse constantly, I mean, premeditating things can cause problems, and saying things too quickly can cause problems. You just need to get into a swing of doing things properly. But I don't know. That was just me rambling about something. The moral of the story was, if you're bored, try not to be bored, but also, it makes sense why you would be. If there are loads of things to do, but you just don't want to do those things because the things that you can think to do wouldn't make you be happy, you would not want to do them. And now, of course, this also comes along as no surprise that in life, sometimes you gotta do things that you don't want to do. But when you don't feel like doing things that you don't want to do and you don't have to do them, it's very difficult to want to. And you can't boss yourself around. You can't exactly force yourself to... You can't force yourself to do work until you want to do it. It's very difficult. And you end up just rebelling against yourself. Like, if you try and force yourself to do work, unless you're actually enjoying the work, or unless you actually get some kind of gratification from doing the work at any point, you won't be able to convince yourself to do it again. You won't be able to keep doing it. You won't be able to sustain that kind of momentum. So you really, really do need to enjoy what you're doing. And I will get my work done. Don't worry. If you're watching this thinking, oh, he's just bullshitting his way out of doing work, he should be doing his work, don't think of it like that. Think of it as, I'm setting an example of the fact that you can really, and really should be, kind of getting by, trying to minimize suffering of other people whilst trying to minimize the suffering of yourself, even though you do have to make sacrifice, you do have to suffer to get anything done. You don't have to suffer that much, and you really shouldn't, because it's not great. So yeah, don't be bored. Just make YouTube videos and talk about stuff instead, or find stuff to do. For me, I think the next thing I'm gonna do is drink some water and eat a banana. That's gonna pass some time. That'll be like 10 minutes. Look for some new memes on Imgur or Reddit or 4chan. Just browse the internet for some more memes. Yeah. I don't know. When you get to a part in life where you're thinking, I don't know, that's when you ask, what would Aragorn do? He was a very determined person, and he always had his head on in the right place, you know. I think I just don't have enough of a big task that it's very difficult to focus on doing a load of small tasks when you have not got a big task and then smaller tasks that I don't know. Is there a logical way to try and conclude anything or draw any kind of information from this? Because I'd really like to get some information, because I can't get it from within. Like, I'm trying to think, what the fuck do I do to stop being bored? Do I really just have to get all my work done? Because it's just nagging on my mind, causing a lot of stress. But then I really don't want to do it. I can do it, I think. Maybe I'm just very lazy. I like to tell myself I'm not a lazy person because it feels good, but in pursuit of honesty, I might have just realized I am in fact very lazy. Fuck. This whole time I thought I was not lazy because I make a lot of videos, I do a lot of writing, I do a lot of stuff. I'm very productive, but I'm just very lazy because I don't do things that are visibly productive, unless you'd call making hundreds of videos to be productive. But is the content that goes into these videos actually productificational? Can you grab it and say, "Ooh, yes, you produced something good here"? You can't really. If you view this as bullshitting, it's not. It's improvisational, therapeutic, kind of discussion-based, background noise kind of educational, experiential, story kind of driven insight into the mind. You know, you got that mind stuff going on in here. You can be thinking the stuff that I'm thinking as I'm thinking it in real time, because that's what I do. Other than when I read stuff from a script, I don't script anything. I just sit here thinking the next thought that comes to my head straight after the previous one, and then I say it, because I think that's the best way to try and create content, is just stringing a bunch of random words together with no edits for 20 minutes. But let me know what you think, because you're the most important person here, viewer. You, like, when I look down and move my hand like this, it's me putting my hand over the thing to press stop recording so I can look at the camera when I do it. Otherwise it's just like I'm like saying, alright, thanks for watching, goodbye.